I do want to spend some time on, though, is taking a look at who is using social media and how they're using it. We were really fortunate just last month. The Pew Research project for the Internet and American Life released these findings. And it's just terrific to see the growth in social media. You can see that the top line are the 18 to 29-year-olds. But if you take a look at the bottom line, which is the 65 plus, you can see a huge increase from November 2008 to May 2010 of those people 65 plus who are using social networking. And if you take a look at the 50 to 64, which are often the influencers or adult children, you're up to almost half of the population are using social networking sites. So it's really no longer a question of, is this something that matters? It really does matter. The question is to figure out how it matters to you. One of the myths is that social networking is for younger people, and the average age of a social networker is 37. That's the average age. In other words, the adult children, professional referral sources, potential employees are already big users of social media. One of the other findings is that half of the internet users aged 50 to 64 are using it on a regular basis. Not just they check it out occasionally or set up an account, but they are actively using it. If you want more information, I encourage you to go to our blog, which is maturemarketingmatters.com, maturemarketingmatters.com, and click on the category social networking listed at right. We have a lot of information there. One of the other findings to take a look at is to see in a typical day where social media use fits in. So here you can see that on a typical day, 13% of those 65 had visited a social networking site, 20% the 50 to 64, and all the way up to 60 of the 18 to 29. So yes, it is dominated by the younger group in terms of it being an everyday part of their life, but it is an increasingly larger part of life for the mature audience. Taking a look at the use of Twitter, you can see that Twitter is not a significant use. It's a very small use for the mature users at this point. One of the things that we like about social media and the mature market is that social media really is sticky. Looking at people who are 50 plus, 44% had been on a social network site in the prior day. The upshot, your prospective residents are increasingly engaged in online social activities. To benefit from this fundamental shift, you need to have an effective internet strategy that helps to keep it all in perspective. So at this point, I'd be happy to see what questions we've had come in. Erin?
No questions so far. I know that there's some eagerness to find out what you can do with social media, so that should be coming shortly.
Okay. Actually, I see one here. It seems like a large majority of senior communities use their social sites for employee recruiting. What are your thoughts on this? Excellent question. We're going to be covering that in just a moment coming up. And let me see what other questions.
One other question, Todd, was asking to explain what sticky means. You referred to a site as being sticky.
Okay. Good questions. Sticky means that people are going to come back to that site or want to revisit it. So it's not the site that they just go to once, get what they want, and leave. But because of that engagement portion of social networking and social media, you are encouraged to come back because something's changed on the site. You may have seen a comment. There might be a discussion going on. There might be information posted. So you want to come back and see how that's evolved. Any other questions? One question came in was regarding the study in terms of how it was conducted. The Pew Research was conducted as a phone study and random call of, I believe, 2,000 people. So it's quite a representative study. All right. We're going to move on, but do encourage you to continue to ask questions as we go. So one of the things that we wanted to take a look at was, aside from the national studies, we were conducting our own study. And these are the preliminary findings of two studies we have going on. One of them is specific on social media. The other one is on internet trends. We're going to be releasing these findings at the International Council on Active Aging in December, and the International Builder Show in Orlando in January, and likely via a webinar. But these are the preliminary findings. We asked people what was their primary reason for trying social networks. And we found that offline and online connections are a key. If you take a look at it, that they were mostly, this is for people 40 plus. The majority of it is work or career encouraged them to join, next by friends wanting to connect or being invited to connect, or family. So it really is those connections that's important. But it's also clear that not everyone is active on online social networks. So we asked those who haven't ever tried social networking, what would motivate them to give it a whirl. And this is what really surprised us. 62% said absolutely nothing. That's a huge number, and it can really make it seem like the whole social media perhaps is a fad, that we've captured as many people as we're going to, and with 62% saying they have no interest in trying it, how much more traction is it going to get amongst people 40 plus? But I think that it's important to keep in mind that a lot of the people who responded are the same people who really didn't think that they would ever need to have a microwave or air conditioning or, heaven forbid, a cell phone. So it is evolving over time, and we expect that some people who really don't see an interest in it right now, we do expect to see continued growth. And if we were to do this study again in a few years, we would expect that percentage to be dropping down. At the same time, it does have implications for what reasonable expectations are today. Next, we wanted to take a look at engagement. There's a lot of talk about engagement and how we can go out and get people to engage with us, to follow us, to become fans, to like us, to really participate with us in some way. But when we asked people, did they want to engage with companies through social networks, the resounding answer was no. Only 18% of people said that they wanted to be engaged with an organization through social media. In some sense, it's not really a surprise that they'd prefer to communicate with you via other channels, whether it be phone or email or a corporate website. That really is more in keeping with a generation. But I also think that some of the findings were that people felt that when companies were trying to engage with them, that it was an intrusion, that they were there to socialize with their friends. And it was somewhat, one of the comments we got was it was somewhat attuned to them sitting down in a restaurant with friends and having somebody from a company pull up a chair and sit down and say, so let's talk about my company. So as you're developing your company social media engagement strategy, please keep these goals and preferences in mind. One of the studies took a look at the motivations for liking a company or brand, and really it comes down to that they're looking to get a discount or special promotion to show my support for the company or to others. So that's for charity organizations in particular, to get a freebie. Well, I think that a lot of these main motivations really are not particularly relevant for most senior communities. And these motivations in other studies are pretty consistent across platforms. So whether it's discount or offers to stay up to date, to gain knowledge and information, the fourth one down really is something that you can offer. And to get insider access, so that's particularly appropriate for if you're going through an expansion. Their goals are also related to mostly to money or that VIP status, which the later is consistent with overall boomer attitudes. So let's add a little perspective to social media. People of all ages are 3 times more likely to send email every day than go on Facebook or other social networks. Really important to keep that in mind. More people bank online too, and this is especially true for older users because seniors use the web differently than the younger user. There's really less socializing, less entertainment, and it's more a tool. They're more likely to have printed a map or checked the weather in the last few days, the last 30 days, than been active on a social networking site. So it is important to keep that in perspective. All right, any additional questions come in?
Yes, Todd. There was a question about kind of the survey, if you could kind of cover who we've been talking to as part of the survey that we've been doing.
Actually, Aaron, would you like to answer that since you are the leader of this research?
Oh boy, that check got passed right back to me, didn't it? It is a national research project that we've been doing. We've been talking to Americans who are over the age of 40. We have been getting a real wide swath, connecting with people both online and offline through Intercept studies. And as I said, is quite a disparate group. We've specifically made sure that we did not just appeal to people who were already involved in social networking to find out about their attitudes and preferences, as we think that it's important to find out what fears or concerns people have as well that are holding them back from it.
I think the point that it's not just being released through social networking sites is critical because a lot of the studies that you see out there on social media, Pew is not one of them, but a lot of the ones that are out there are studies that are internet-based and distributed solely through social media. So as a good friend of mine who's a researcher says, surveys are representative not of the overall population, but the sample population. So we're really trying to make sure that this is as unbiased as possible. We will have over 400 responses and be segmenting it by a variety of different factors in addition to age. Other questions?
Not at this time.
Actually, I thought I see one. What type of sites are seniors accessing, and how are they using social media? I think that our study is getting into the specific sites that they're using and what they're looking for. I'm going to pass on answering that right now because it's going to get us into a little bit more information than I'd like to get into. Moving on. One of the things our study did show is what we're calling the anti-social media in a somewhat humorous perspective. But there really is a line in the mind of maturers between social and business. And you need to be careful because, as I pointed out earlier, they can feel that you're intruding into their personal space. Also been hearing from a lot of people, regardless of their age, that are very concerned about privacy. There's a lot in the media about privacy on Facebook, and there's a lot of concern when people are sharing information, what's going to happen with it, and the whole idea of boundaries of how it's going to be used. And I think the feeling that companies are reducing them from being a valuable person to being a follower or a fan, the reality is not many people aspire to be that. So it's one thing that we can all say as organizations would like to have lots of people liking us and lots of people following us. If you stop and think about it from their perspective, it's back to that age-old marketing question. What's in it for them?